Okay, hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Noor, and this is Binyamin. Okay.
Yep, that's good. Yeah.
And yeah, you're clearly UTISC. So, do you agree? What, according to OP, what are you?
Yeah, according to OP, I have masculine sensory, feminine FE, and then TISE, and then consume, play, blast, sleep, blast.
Okay, and I'm guessing you've typed yourself to a certain extent.
Also, yeah.
So, what do you think? I guess using the OP functions, what do you think your type should be?
I think I'm in the right quadra. I always thought I was lead TI, and I knew I was using NISE. I thought I was sleep first, actually. So it's been a year, I think, and I'm still having a little bit of a tough time seeing the animals. But I think also maybe there might, like, the animal system might not be 100% complete yet either. I think it's just like very general to put someone 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of thing. I think there's more complexity there that the system isn't capturing. But other than that, I definitely don't see myself sleep last still.
Okay. So according to, like, I guess other typing systems, so socionics is something I know that talk
Yeah,
about.
socionics, I think I'm ISTJ there or whatever,
Uh,
IL, whatever.
do you know how that works?
Sort of. Well, I don't know. I know Model G and then Model A. I don't know. It's I know just basically according to Young, I'm using TI as my lead function. That's what I identify with for sure. Yeah.
And do you agree with, like, Jung's, like, I guess more of, like, the archetypes, or?
I don't know about the archetypes, but I like Young was vague enough that he was right about everything. That's what I've seen. Like, he wasn't very specific on things in a way that he could be wrong, and he was just vague enough to be, and he saw some things that I think just, we're still sort of looking at and not really seeing. But I think overall Young was really onto something with everything.
So I know that you made a video about, like, anima, animus, and that's again
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
like Jung's archetypical. So do you think that there is a whole, like, you're attracted to the opposite person?
So yeah, that video was, I gave a name to a specific kind of relationship. I don't know if I was, people kind of disagreed with the name I gave it, but it was basically just because my unconscious function, my inferior function, was blind to her, and it was sort of this weird interaction where, my unconscious was interacting with her shadow, and her shadow was interacting, well, my shadow was interacting with her unconscious.
Okay.
In a weird way, yeah. So I just gave it a name. I don't know. I just chose it. People who are using SI like yourself would find it kind of weird to, inappropriately name things. But for me, it doesn't matter what the name is.
Well, yeah, because, like, animus means, like, according to, again, the archetypes, it's not what you were really explaining. Because like when you like involving a shadow it's its own archetype, so you kind of can't have that in there.
Right.
If that makes sense. So, like, yeah, anima is like when the male is attracted to his feminine side in a woman, and then the opposite for animus. So
yeah. So I mean, also in the OP terms, you could say that my masculine side is it's actually my TISE. That's my masculine side. It happens to be my two, but like if I was FF, for example, my masculine side would be NITI, and then my feminine side would be SEFE. So, it's really open to interpretation what Jung meant in there as well. And then I've also seen other interpretations where the anima animus is your shadow side. So, I just gave a name to the relationship.
Okay, I don't mean to block you with that, but yeah, how did you get into typology?
So actually, I was tested when I was young with an official Myers-Briggs test with my father. My father was all into typology, and he was talking about it all the time, me growing up, sort of thing. And I didn't know what the test was. I thought I was in trouble, and I thought, like, he was testing me to figure out, how much of a problem child I was or whatever. So I was, like, answering the questions so that I wouldn't get in trouble, like, and so, it's pretty evident that my parents wanted me to be what I got. Like I tested basically based on what they would have wanted me, so I got ISTJ.
Nice. So okay, but your dad. Oh, what type is your dad?
INTP.
INTP. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see that like just as like growing up?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He had a lot of this way to do things. I don't know, very. I don't know how to say it. It was interesting, anyways. Yeah.
Okay, so INTP, that's like very similar to your type, right? ISTP. Do you think he was masculine TI?
I have masculine TI, yeah, for sure.
No, you like. Do you think your dad has masculine?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so do you see that kind of like? Do you guys?
Yep, 100%. Yep.
Do you want to give some examples?
Just head-to-head conflict. Yeah, for sure. I don't know any examples stand out, but like just it's his truth or go home sort of thing. Well, I was at home, or like get out of my home sort of thing. Yeah. Basically.
So do you see yourself kind of doing that, or?
I definitely saw myself doing it in the past. I think, as I've gotten older, it's sort of calmed down a little bit, and, I've been able to lay off a little bit the headbutting with people on truth and on what I think is right and true. Yeah.
Right, because you're very like not against, but you just it's almost like you don't kind of listen to Dave and Shan's typing. Not listen, but it's just like
Right.
they'll be like people will come and they're like, oh, I'm this type, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you seem like you're this type, but then you'll type them something else.
Right. So just the thing is with the interviews since the very beginning, I've been sort of not knowing what their type is going in, if I could at all avoid it, and just sort of like I did the same thing with you sort of thing, where I'm like trying to be unbiased and trying to like give my feedback on what I see in the moment. And it's not that I'm going against them per se. It's just that I'm just saying what I see. And, just with the interviews over time, I'm learning the functions, learning how they express themselves in people. And I think it's valuable to people to have another opinion on whatever their type is. Just maybe someone sees them a little bit differently. Maybe there's something they can check out, look into a little bit more, and not just take them at word value, sort of thing. And I'm not going against them. I'm just saying what I actually see. I'm not, I'm not purposefully trying to contradict them. And a lot of the times I 100% agree with what they type, and sometimes I see something just a little bit different, and it could be a flaw in me and what I'm seeing. And I'm not claiming that I'm infallible and right or anything. And I know they're not claiming to be infallible and right either. So I think it's important that someone questions them. And yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. But then like also don't like you also just see them for about an hour or so, right? So that's just
people. Yep, that's right. Yeah, I only see them, interact with them for an hour. No prep work. I talk with them after the interview a little bit just to flesh things out when the camera's off, so there's no more tension and we can really speak frankly, sort of thing. But yeah, just I think it's if people don't want it, they can just tell me right up front. They don't want their type question. They agree with it. That's cool. But I'm just gonna give them a little push if I see something might be questionable that they should look into, for sure.
I mean, that's pretty like demon FE. If you wanted, just talk to me about it. Like,
yeah, not claiming to be savior. Yeah.
No,
Why do you see that? Can you explain it?
I mean, I guess I'm explaining it more sort of like because I can see it in myself to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I see the to the extent, but it also like I feel like I would be more scared to kind of do that in public. But you're just out there, you're doing it, which is
yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like I'm not ashamed, even if I'm wrong. I'm not ashamed for questioning things and showing basically a healthy perspective on how not to take everyone as a guru, as word of God sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're all people, we're all fallible, and even if they have this 99.9% typing accuracy, they're still going to get that 0.1% wrong, and I want to be there to sort of question it. So
fair enough. I mean, so yeah, so I just wanted to talk about, so you thought that I was an INTP, so that's TI,
yeah,
and
I,
uh, did
I
you think
saw
I
it
was
as an
my,
option. Yeah,
so did you
yeah,
think I was, that's like my question was more like why? So when I type people, or when I'm seeing someone who hasn't officially been typed or isn't like in the classes or whatever, I more tend to go so from seeing the perspective of like, oh, if I'm like this, and if since my type is now something that I'm kind of sure of, what is this other person going to be like? And I compare
yeah,
myself to them. So do you also use yourself as a sort
yeah.
of,
To triangulate on people, for sure. Yep, for
so
sure.
did you see the TI with me or?
Yeah. You were. When I was talking to you, it felt like you were TI Dom. Like it felt like you were just like you. Your identity was in TI, not in any. Like you weren't speaking as if you're in any. That's not who you are. You are TI. Like, yeah. I don't know. That's what it felt like to me. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So like what is that? Like what is the embodiment of that for people who haven't seen my interview or someone else who's TI Dom's interview?
What is TI? You mean for me or for you?
No, like TI. What is TI to you in general? What do you see and you're like, okay, that's TI.
I mean, someone else.
Yeah.
Just just where people speak from as their identity, who they are, where people are in the map. Like I don't know how to say it better than that. It's just where you are. And so you just are there. You just are in TI. You're using any. I can see that you use it very clearly, but it feels like you are TI using any, not any using TI.
Okay. How would any using TI or OE in general using TI versus TI using OE be? Like
Right.
what does that distinction look like?
So it seems like more like a tool, like something that's not their identity, something they can just use when the moment requires it, sort of thing. Um, so just using it to like, okay, so there's like a master and a slave sort of thing. So the master of the whole orchestra, the one who's ruling everything, is going to have this right hand man who's going to use to do his bidding and do his will, and that's just what it's going to be like. It's like it's in service to. So it feels like your NE was in service to your TI rather than the other way around.
Okay,
But I don't know. I could be wrong. Who am I? I'm just some
no, I'm
weirdo on
just
the internet.
no, no, I'm just curious about like, but isn't OE in general? Because if you think about it, like TI, FI, TE, FE, whatever, it's like even if you're TE, even if you're
Mhm.
DE, it's kind of a, it's still a part of your identity to
Yeah,
be.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
but then that's what those functions embody. They
Yep.
embody some sort of identity.
Yep.
So, the way I look at it is that like it's all like OE and OI is a tool for DE and DI. Like
Yeah.
how can a person embody chaos? Like that's, or how can someone embody structure?
I don't see any as chaos, but like if I were to ask you what is thinking to you, for example. So if I were to ask an NE DOM what thinking is, they would identify NE as thinking. If I were to ask a TI DOM what is thinking, they would identify TI as thinking. So the question would be more like, what do you identify as thinking? And also like, let's say there's layers in a building, right? What's the foundation? What's the one that's holding them all up? So that's it. I mean, like I could be wrong in what I saw, right? You could be any could be your foundational function, but I don't see your any using your TI. I see the opposite.
Okay. Personally, I disagree. Not
Okay,
that
cool.
I'm
Yeah.
but it's an interesting perspective. You clearly use a lot of NI And like according to Dave and Shan, have like, because it's supposed to still be a demon, right? So were you always like this? Have you built on it, or?
I think I'm pretty sure it's always been like this. It's only single activated. I really feel more like my FE is much weaker, like it's my single activated function, but it's double activated somehow with my animals. But I feel like my NI is way more prevalent than my type suggests. Especially like when I first spoke to Dave, he said that he saw in my older videos that I was using all my functions. So he didn't really say that he didn't say that I was lacking anywhere. And even in my feedback, they were saying that I just keep doing what you're doing. You seem to be, on the right path or whatever. But yeah, you'll see my NI everywhere. It's just, I think also tertiary NI is still prevalent, even though it's like even in regular ISTP, you'll see a lot of NI in them because it's just they're double observing all the time. They're really balanced on the SE NI. So I mean, you would see that NI might be in service to the SE. Like I do feel like I'm a little bit more responsible for what reality is, for what's really real, and then my NI is just sort of piecing together those patterns of reality. So it does feel like reality is still God, so to speak, like more important to me than my subjective intuition. But other than that, I really trust it a lot, and I really put a lot of sway on it, especially if I see it's working with reality. It's something that it's a valuable tool. Yeah.
That makes sense. But
yeah.
Oh, I also, did you have a problem with typing yourself? Like, so you took the test when you were a kid, you got ISTJ.
Yeah.
But did your dad ever kind of be like, no, like that doesn't seem right?
No.
Really? Because like I feel like TI, you do all your research, you're just like,
I don't know. No.
It's very interesting. But so you typed. This was when, like, how old were you?
So like, okay, this is an interesting subject because like I was like maybe 8 or 10 or whatever, but like I felt like my dad was always putting me in that ISTJ box, like this is you, and I'm like, no, it's not. See me. And he's like, no, you're ISTJ. Like you kept throwing me back there, and it was kind of weird. So yeah, definitely getting typed again, sort of, in your face, sort of thing. Yeah.
Did you talk to him about this? Like,
yeah. He doubts it still. He still doubts that I'm TISE, but
it's pretty cool though, because like both of you kind of got. I mean, I'd say you're fairly into the whole typology thing.
Yeah, I guess you can say that. Yeah.
So that's pretty fun. But yeah, so you were like 8 or 10. Your dad thinks you're an ISTJ. Do you think that kind of helped you? Do you think that helped you with the S part? Because like I feel like I may be wrong. What do I know? But, when you're younger and like when people tell you you're this person, you kind of start believing it to a certain
Yeah, I
extent.
never believed it. No, I knew I was lying on the whole test, and I never believed any of the results. And I kept typing myself and retyping myself, and I kept getting INTP for some reason. So I don't know. I never believed ISTJ. Not that there's anything wrong. ISTJ is an amazing thing. Yeah, it's but I'm definitely not struggling with any, and I'm definitely struggling with FE. So
Right.
yeah.
Wait, so you get typed when you're 8 or 10. You're like, okay, I'm not this person. But so when do you speak out about it? Did you ever be like, because if you lied on the test, I'm guessing you want to stay out of trouble. But eventually, did you ever, or I guess how was your, I guess your teen years like having, I don't know, or I guess you were fairly confident in your TI, right? So you were like, I know who I am.
Well, also, I didn't know if I put too much stock in it. I don't know if I believed in it back then. He's preaching it and preaching it. I just, is it real? I don't know. It doesn't really, it seems like a cool idea, but like I never really bought too much into it back then either.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just being me, you know, and I was just doing what I would naturally do anyways, and growing and developing how I naturally would anyways, with this sort of like weird information on the side. Yeah.
So when did you start getting into this then?
So honestly, I've always had in the back of my mind, I've always been sort of trying to type people just as sort of like a fun thing to do, and talk about it and stuff like that. But I didn't really get into it until I had some videos up on my channel, and with like 3 views or something. So it's like, but all of a sudden, Dave leaves a message. He's like, I saw your video 3 times. There's some good information here. How did you figure this out? And I was like, oh, okay, thanks, man. And I checked out his channel, and then he had all those older, it was like about 2 years ago. So he had all those older stuff. So I subscribed to him, and then he started coming out with more and more videos. And over time, he sort of opened up my eyes again to seeing that, you know, there could be something to this. It's not just like this, you know, I don't want to say like tarot reading sort of thing. But yeah.
Right. So what is your take on, like, I guess, the accuracy, reliability, validity of these things?
Like accuracy and reliability of Dave and Shan's system, or of typology in general and Young, or
I'd say more so Dave and Chance system. But
yeah,
also,
okay. So like, I expect there to be mistypes, like expect it, like it has to happen. It's just Murphy's law. Like as an engineer, you know, there's got to be something failing here. And you know, I don't, if they get 1 coin wrong in 10 people, so that means they're getting 2 coins wrong in 100 people, and 3 coins wrong in 1,000 people. And so, you know, you just expect there to be mistypes. And so, and I don't think it's anything flawed in them. I think it's just a natural result of things. And there's some patterns I've seen with a few of the types. Like, I don't want to say they're mistypes because, you know, who am I, right? But types that I disagree with. And so one of the patterns is every time I see a feminine FE, not every time, but some of the times I see a feminine FE, they type them as someone close to their type. And feminine FE seems to be like a chameleon type. They're able to, like, because they're speaking to Dave and Shan, they'll behave a little bit like Dave and Shan, and they'll type them as feminine TE or something like that, because that's what feminine FE does. It pretends to be whoever they're talking to, because they want to be accessible. They want to give over information in a way that you can hear.
Okay. So
that's one example.
So you expect there to be mistypes?
Oh, yeah. And then also, you know, you're providing a typing video. They can only see what you show them. And, you know, one guy is a professional actor. And for some reason, he pretended to be some type or whatever. And they typed him as that type, but he was like a complete opposite type. Like they typed him as TINI, and he's like NEFE or something like that, is what we discovered afterwards.
But then how do you know he's NEFE?
We had like 3 calls together, and just feedback back and forth, and just going over it over again. But he was using NE, and he was either NEFE or NEFI or something like that, or NET, something like that. But he was NEDOM. He was not TINI at all. Yeah.
So was he like saying things that allegedly a TINI would say, or was he just like, I guess, just the way he was acting?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they typed him like that, because I saw it pretty clearly in my first interview with him as well. Like it really raised questions. To date, he has to be the most off from the type, but he's a professional actor. Like, that's what he does. So yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Oh yeah. Wait, I wanted to ask about so Dave and Shen constantly talk about like your biggest, I guess, tidal wave or fear. So
yeah.
Would you mind discussing yours?
Yeah, sure. No problem. Tribe, 100% tribe tidal waves all the way. I've really been investigating FE and what it does. And I don't know, maybe you might be interested in feminine FE as well, or masculine?
Masculine FE.
Masculine FE. Sorry for forgetting. So yeah, FE basically puts in energy. Like, you're always putting energy, wasting energy, it feels like. just in caring for people, just in putting in energy in people around you. And you don't know or don't do it because it'll pay off. You just do it because it's genuine to do that. You care about people and you're going to be investing all that energy. And after a while, like this is a healthy FE user, after a while, sometimes some of that energy might pay off, right? Like if you invest in 1,000 people, maybe one person will pay off and you'll get some nice benefit out of it, right? And so like it's really nice to use that FE and see that happen now, right? But before, I would just not use the FE and I would piss off people, the opposite. And if, like I've seen tidal waves, like the FE tidal wave basically is they will piss off someone, but that one person will find no one else to group with and to hate on the FE user because they're just investing so much energy constantly in everyone else in the tribe. Like they might find one other person and go off to the side and form their own little group of 2 that hate that FE user. But like if I'm pissing off people constantly, there's a bunch of people that are all isolated that hate me. And then they start talking and they're like, yeah, we hate that guy too. And then they start grouping around basically the fact that they hate me. And then this whole tidal wave starts forming where there's a group of people that want to lynch me and hate me and that sort of thing. And I just didn't know where it came from. So it was really easy to tell that I was demon tribe. Like just over and over again throughout my life, this would happen. Yeah.
But did people actually hate you, or did you think that they hated you?
Like enough to form mobs in junior high outside of school and yeah, beat me until I was on the ground bleeding. Yeah. And throwing bikes on my head and stuff like that. Yeah.
That sounds but is that like what could you have done that's that bad?
I don't know. It's just like the way you come off to people. You come off as maybe arrogant, or like in class you prove them wrong when the teacher's asking questions, and like so here, this is stupid. This is like basically this is how David Chen typed me. I just was basically honest. It's like I thought back then if I was smart, people would like me. So in class, like really dumb, right? So in class, if someone would get like a question wrong, I would put up my hand and get the question right and smile at the person because now, you must like me because I'm smarter than you. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So like, it was just basically coming off as someone who is better than other people, I guess. And I came up with a whole theory on what I was actually doing. And it's just basically that everyone wants to be alpha in some way. It's because of the fact that there is an alpha in monkeys, in I don't know, in everything, in deer, in dogs. There's always this alpha animal that's in charge of the pack, right? And so the fact that the alpha exists means that everyone should have this desire to become alpha and fight, like, because there's always these alpha battles. And so I kept thinking, all right, so I'm challenging these people to this alpha battle without noticing it. And that's why they're hating me, because they don't see me as alpha and I'm beating them and they need to change the game in order to beat me. So yeah, it led me down this whole rabbit hole of what's an alpha game and, what people see as alpha and all this kind of stuff. I have a whole video. That's basically where Dave found me on this video. So basically, once I figured that sort of thing out, I stopped challenging people to alpha battles unknowingly. And things got better for me, but I still got the tribe tidal waves.
So people would actually dislike you because I guess you're smarter than them?
Because I was challenging to them. Like, even if I wasn't smarter than them, I was challenging to them. Yeah. I was challenging them to like this battle without knowing it.
Is that a bad thing to do?
Huh?
Is that a bad thing to do? I mean,
yeah. Yeah. People, yeah.
That's interesting. The more you know. But so what was your, I guess, again, because Dave and Chen, I keep going back to Dave and Chen, but they talk about how TI, FITI, DOMs, especially masculine, they know, I guess, their identity and who they are. So since you were a kid, did you know what you wanted to do in life, or?
No. So I had to talk about this with Versavia, and FI seems to be first of all, identity is an illusion. FI DOMs seem to be in touch with their identity, but it's just an illusion. And TI DOMs always go through some kind of, or TI users like FE or I don't know, even NETIs, they'll go through this sort of identity crisis in their life at some point where like, who am I? Like, what's my identity? What do I like? Right? So FI seems to be all stuck in a way that in the illusion that they have an identity, and TI is stuck in the knowing that they don't, in a way. So like the more you get to know yourself, the less you actually know. It's like this finger that can't point at itself sort of thing. Yeah.
So is TI just more aware of, like, I guess the inaccuracy that you can't know yourself, kind of? Does that?
Yeah, like, okay, so the whole statement, I think, therefore I am, right? So it's like, that's just what TI is. We just the fact that I'm here, I know I exist, right? But who am I? It's like, it depends who I want to be. I can choose to be whoever I want, right? There's no limitation on that. And one of the things TI does, and this is something, it's actually a really bad description of what TI is, and it comes from OP. It's truth for self sort of thing. And I don't identify with that at all. I don't think that's what TI is at all. I think if anything, you would say it's self for truth. And really, you are coming closer to truth all the time, not the other way around. At least from the perspective of a TI user. Maybe from the perspective of outside, it may look like truth for self. But from my perspective, it's self for truth. And it's a little bit arrogant to say I am the ruler and decider of what is true and what is false. But at the same time, I've dedicated my every waking moment to discovering what truth is and bringing myself closer to it. So, I mean, if someone were to come and prove me wrong, then I would obviously admit defeat and move myself to the truth that someone else showed to me. So it's not like I'm the one deciding, but it's like, if you have a disagreement, come talk to me about it and we'll figure it out. We'll get there. Like if I come into contact with enough people and someone finally proves me wrong, then yeah, of course I'll move myself. No reason not to. Like, that's what I'm looking to do anyways, you know?
So, but then what is your definition of truth? Like, is it something that's happening in reality, or because
Right.
like TE can be truth, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
we're all interpreting the world based on our functions. It's just we're seeing, perceiving, understanding, parsing the world based on our functions, and we're blind to everything that's not our at least our main function and maybe even our second function. So truth I see through my functions as you would through yours, right? And that's all I can do. I can try to expand and my consciousness and see truth through more functions, which I'm doing. But in the end, truth for me is what doesn't contradict. And that's what I've come down to. What doesn't. So for me, I'm using SE, so I see reality as a fundamental place where truth can be judged. So what doesn't contradict with reality, and that for me is truth. So in the end, contradictions happen. They're bound to happen. And whenever a contradiction happens, it's kind of like an exciting thing for a TI user. Be like, oh, there's a contradiction here. There must be some kind of truth that I'm not seeing. There must be something beyond. So really, our ability to move towards truth is find these contradictions and resolve them in some way. And so if nothing is contradicting, right, then there could be a falsehood there, but we have no test to see there. So we don't really pick up on it. But as soon as there's a contradiction, it could be that, both things are wrong. It could be that one is wrong or the other is wrong, right? So that's really the exciting place where you try to resolve it. And, you come to a conclusion, you come to a decision on it based on, you have a huge responsibility because you are using TI to figure out the right conclusion. And if someone else down the road, if you contradict again, because like I came to a conclusion, now I've moved myself there. Do I keep contradicting with the world based on the conclusion I came with? Well, if I keep contradicting and every time I run into a contradiction, I have to keep resolving this formula. saying, okay, am I contradicting because I'm wrong? No. So the world is wrong. Am I like that sort of thing? So eventually contradictions should sort of even themselves out, and then I will no longer contradict with truth.
Right, but then is there like a truth? You know, if you think about it, like, is there even this one universal thing that's actually true? Because it's all changing all the time, right? Like contradictions sometimes may even out, but sometimes they may not.
So there's a few ways to look at this. One of the ways is dimensionality. So two things in a lower dimension might contradict, right? But if you add a dimension, like for example, let's give an example like heat. Okay, so you take, I don't know, I take this and I see like there's a certain heat here and there's a different heat here, right? And that's just true, right? But then I'll see that the heat changes. So I can't say this is 20 degrees and this is 30 degrees. I'll see that heat's changing. So what do I have to add? I have to add an extra dimension, like of time, to see that heat's changing, and then I'll have a formula and a structure that could contain that truth. And so every time I see that something is contradicting, it means I'm probably missing some kind of dimension somewhere, right? And then the other thing I've seen is perspective. So and that's where you get contradictions from. Like you are observing an event and I'm observing an event, and we come out with two different conclusions, two different observations. And so who is right? So there's your perspective, there's my perspective, and then there's the truth perspective. There has to be a perspective that's true, that's giving you this picture and giving me this picture, right? It's not that you're not seeing truth, you're just seeing a certain perspective on the truth from your functions, from your perspective. And so that is also like, and again, it's just from the contradiction that we can resolve that and get to a deeper understanding of what's actually there.
Do you ever like just leave things because you're like, okay, maybe I'm not looking at something from a certain perspective? So are you just like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be focusing on it, and you just don't address it?
Contradictions are like thorns. They're just there and they hurt, and I won't deal with it now, but I will deal with it later because it's gonna just stick there forever until I do. And that's basically what sleep is, what I thought sleep was. So it might not be this, but what I thought sleep was just sitting down and going over all the contradictions and expanding your perspective, seeing how they fit together, how the contradictions fit together. And so for me, that's like TINI. It's making those contradictions work themselves out in a way and then get to a higher understanding of reality.
Right. But then it's not like if something bugs you, you can't just like not think about it or like, okay, whatever.
I can put it on the back burner, but it will always come back until I've solved it. Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of contradictions that are just sitting there that like I might not even be aware that they're there, but they are there. And as soon as I get a new piece of information that sort of can help me resolve those contradictions, I'll go back to it.
Yeah, that's very OE though, right? Just kind of patterns and
or I can work on it too. And either way.
Do you know you're a big five? Do you know what the big five is?
Yeah, not really. No. Yeah, I tested myself a couple times, but no.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you really want science, that's the most accurate. Like in the 1980s, I think there's this guy who came up with, like he had 128 people from a group kind of take the
Gaussian distribution.
Yeah. So, but basically, like
on where you are from the center.
Yeah, but then there are just like these 5 traits that appeared over and over again, even with like changes in language, because that's kind of like a barrier, because your personality is only restricted to what language you're speaking in. To a certain extent. Yeah. So, do you know what they mean? Like, do you think you can place yourself on that?
I think I can. If you remind me what they are, because I've tested myself a couple times and just.
Okay, so there's agreeableness, which is how well you get along with people, and how much you're willing to, I guess.
So here's the thing: as a self type, I would put myself as agreeable, like based on all the questions, but I know I'm not.
Yeah, I can tell. Wait, but are you someone who like addresses conflict directly, or?
So I will address it internally directly. I have no fear of addressing conflict internally. Externally with other people, I would think twice, and I would see if it's even worth it, if it's worth my time, if the person will accept, like if I address it and it just causes conflict and no one gets anything out of it except for everyone hating each other, then what's the point, right?
Right.
So I'll try, that's where I'll use my eye to see if it's worth pursuing addressing the conflict. If it's not worth pursuing, I'll just let the lie continue existing because it's better than creating a bigger lie, I guess. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so low on agreeableness, then openness. So openness is openness to experience.
Very high.
Very high.
Yeah.
I
Which
get
is
that.
OE in general. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though because OE it's OE. Never mind. And then neuroticism. So it's like anxiety, hostility.
So just thinking about agreeableness, I think that's just masculine or feminine thinking usually. Agreeableness, because that's where you agree on the.
I think it's DE. I don't think it's masculine.
My DE is feminine.
Yeah, but is it a savior?
Yeah, no.
So I feel like a savior DE is like Shen. Even though she's TE, she's going to ask a lot of questions.
She's got masculine thinking, right? So masculine thinking is going to be disagreeable. I think that's my hypothesis, at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking more in terms of like savior DE, because like then it's kind of like.
So like masculine FE, for example, masculine FE would be confrontational, but they would still be maybe agreeable on their thinking.
I mean, I don't know. I'm slightly disagreeable. So
you're very disagreeable. Yeah, I can see that right now. I'm not coming to an agreement here.
What are you talking about? But
okay,
I'm not that disagreeable. But anyway.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But
see that wasn't really double deciding there. Just putting it out there.
Well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought of it. So.
Okay.
And then neuroticism. So again, anxiety, hostility.
Low on neuroticism.
So you're not very anxious, or
I can get anxious.
But I guess like more daily things.
It's no.
Okay. Hold on. Conscientiousness, which is like how organized, neat.
Yeah. Very low.
Very low.
Yeah.
Okay. And you seem to, I don't know, come on time. So.
Yeah. That's something I'm weird about. Like I hate being late, and I have to show up 5 minutes early for everything.
That's you can't call yourself low in conscientiousness if you're not like.
Well, do you want to see how messy my place is? Like.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Extroversion.
Low.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's gotten higher recently because of all the interviews. I've been forcing myself out there, but like taking that first step and actually doing it and just being around people is not. Yeah. But I mean, this is the big 5 description of what extroverted is, right? So yeah. So in their definition of extroverted, I'm low.
Yes, their definition of extroverted is like you're more sociable. You're more
recharging around people, and
but you're also like more extroverted people, according to the big 5, tend to be more assertive. So more so than agreeableness. So
really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not assertive unless I am, if that makes any sense.
No, I think that kind of does. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to like, I guess like nothing wrong with the OP, but I feel like it needs to be more scientific. It's my only.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a little more testable, and then.
Right. Yeah. Submitting itself to falsification, submitting itself to scrutiny.
Yeah. And
I know they don't do it on purpose, but they have a big, fan community that will defend it to their death, sort of thing, like cultish sort of. It's not cult, but last call I had with Dave, I actually came in. I was like, "Hey, it's the cult leader." Like he laughed, but like they don't do it on purpose. It's just something that happens because they're not putting in the energy in the tribe to diffuse that, I guess.
Well, to be fair, I feel like there's always, like anytime you say anything, someone's going to be in agreement with you. But
they're not addressing it directly, I think. And they're not even maybe aware of it because they're not spending time with the tribe in that way, I think.
I guess, but like it's also, you can't keep kind of like telling people, hey, don't like think of us as a certain way, like I feel like that's so much waste of time. It's like people will think what they think.
Right. Yeah.
So
but then if you see like polarization the way that it's happening, like I'm picking up on it a lot, the polarization, because like I'm disagreeable, I think, on my channel, and it sort of rubs people the wrong way, which is good, is exactly what I want. Like I just want people to not be all in on believing, and I think like that's the kind of thing people need to see, is to see that I respect Dave and Shan. I love their work. I think they've really cracked a lot of interesting code and stuff. And because I love and respect them so much, I'm going to challenge them. It comes from a place of respect, because I don't want to see their system and their philosophy go into that direction where, it becomes, it gets rid of all of the free thinkers and keeps only the group think.
Yeah, no, I agree. But also it's like when you're creating something, it's not personal. If you're creating such a big and elaborate system, you're going to get scrutiny, and you should be able to kind of be like,
and
hey.
I don't think they're against it. I think they want there to be someone like me and other people that are scrutinizing them. That's good. It's healthy, right? They know there's something wrong if everyone is just going along with them constantly.
Right. Yeah, also, I was actually talking to someone about this today, and they haven't come up with like actual definitions, like, I don't know, maybe it's just like my SI or whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
But like you need to be able to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about,
they're not using SI, and this is something actually I've seen very recently that I pieced it together that I think even you contributed a lot to that understanding, is that SI is going to want a single definition that it can have multiple meanings branch off of it, and NI is going to see those many definitions that are being used and want to find the meaning behind all those definitions. And so what Dave and Shan they're both using NI, and so they're going to try to find one meaning behind the function, but there's just going to be so many definitions surrounding that in order to define it. There's just this definition, like a whole bunch of different definitions defining that concept, that you won't really be able to get them unless you get them applying their understanding. So that's what they're doing in their class, is they're applying this NI understanding, and then you get these little tiny tidbits of definition from there. But other than that, they don't really have the tools to codify it into a definition.
But then that's what's so important about any sort of system, right? That there has to be like, this is what it is, and like that's what I'm saying is the problem with it. And just if you want to take it further up in research, like you can't just have such vague kind of.
You're absolutely right. They need more SI. They know that. And like for me, I don't see a problem with it, because I actually like not having these many definitions and, coming to my own understanding of what's going on, because that's my functionality. But I understand how frustrating it must be for SINE users to come to this and see what's going on. Where are the definitions? What's the definition of NI? There is no, like, they have it on their sheet, but like, that's not enough. You can't really branch off from there with your understandings.
Well, yeah, it's frustrating, but again, it's not like, it can't be, like if you're creating a system, it needs to be accessible to everybody, and they need to like come up with that.
Right now, they're ignoring half the board. You're right. They're ignoring the SI users that need the definitions in order to operate.
and I don't know what they're doing. Like maybe I'm sure they're doing something, but it's just frustrating for me.
It's going to be almost next to impossible because they don't have a lot of SI between the two of them, and they're the one, they're going to have to work really hard to get out some kind of definition that holds up over time. But I mean, any SI is always gonna want that one perfect definition and just never actually get there, sort of thing. And it's the same thing with NI. NI is gonna want that one perfect understanding and also never get there. So I mean, they don't have SI, so they're not gonna spend every day trying to narrow down on this one perfect definition. So it's going to have to be an NE user that will come along and try to do that, take all of Dave and Shan's understandings and try to bridge it into some underlying definition. Other than that, I don't see Dave and Shan able to even do it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's not an excuse, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
You can't just be like, oh, I don't have certain functions, so I can't do it. Like, if you're creating a system, you need to have, like.
So they're not creating a system. This is one of the things. They're not creating a system to understand type or to define type. They're creating a system to type people. You don't need to understand what NI is in order to know that they're organizing and they're intuitives, right? You don't need what you do is what I'm doing, sort of thing, is after the person has been typed, now you can go and learn what NI actually is in reality, which is what I'm trying to do. So I go and I ask this NI user, I ask this NI user, I ask this NI user. And that's also useless for you guys because I'm just building my own NI in the end, which is highly subjective. And in the end, I can't define it, right? So you need someone like Kendrick, I think, that can come around and interview many people and then come to this definition because he's using NESI, right?
Again, I mean, cool, but also you need it, like whatever it is, you need the SI. And
I get it. Those are your functions. You need it. I agree.
no, but it's not even about me. It's not about my functions.
It's about half the people in the population. Yeah.
It's not even about half of the people in the population. It's just about having something that people can because I feel like if you have something that's solid and that's definable, then even an NI user can just like look at it and kind of understand its meanings and whatnot. Like, you can't?
No, doesn't help.
How's that possible?
A single definition won't give us an understanding. You would need many different definitions, many different cases, how it plays out in order to reverse engineer the understanding. The definition it might point us to what NI is, and then we'll go and observe it and then get that understanding over time. Like, that's true, but a single definition will not give us the understanding that we need.
Well, yeah, but like, again, like, I don't know. I feel like
I could read the dictionary on the word piece, for example, and I'll never understand what piece is based on the definition.
I mean, you just have to break it down, like this part, and then you realize what. Okay, I guess that's any. All right, my bad. But yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing about language in general and about how we perceive concepts in our mind differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So, last question. Any advice for anyone watching? Like, what have you learned in all of your years?
Okay, so there's a few things that, like in typology, you mean, right?
No.
No, just in general?
Just in general in life. Yeah, don't make this mistake or don't do this. But if typology is more comfortable, you can.
Yeah,
whichever.
Don't go after something that I don't know. I'm going to sound like Mike Rowe again or something like this. So I'm just going to say typology. I'll stick to typology. Just that.
No. Do the.
Basically, everybody is seeing the world differently, and just because you're struggling with something, it doesn't mean everyone's struggling with it. And just because someone seems like an idiot because they're struggling with something stupid, it might just be their life struggle. Like, you give them patience. and yeah, don't judge people too harshly because they can't do what you do, because they could probably do something you can't. And in the end, type will help you. It will help you see yourself, and it will help you grow as a person yourself, but it will also help you see people that have a different type. And it'll help you see that they see reality different, and see how miscommunications can happen between the two of you. And conflict can happen just because you're seeing reality differently. You're not going to agree on reality. So just that's what type can really give you, is this ability to communicate with someone who is not like you, and know how they see the world a bit different. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I think that was good, but
All right, thanks. I'll take that.
Okay, thank you for being on
Thank
my
you very
show.
much, Nora. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Me too.
And I love your content. Keep it up.
Oh, thanks.